some interviews tonight for the position of the building inspector. I'm assuming that is Mr. Scott in the audience?
Correct.
Yes. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. So we have a few minutes to kind of talk about what we want to see the process be and how we want to see this go. Richard's going to be here, is that? Yes, he's in the building. Okay, so we're going to wait for Richard to get here. And I guess my thought is, you all have a copy of the questions in front of you. So if we just go in the same order for each candidate, if you take a minute to read over those questions. We have all of their resumes in front of you also. If you want to look at those. Does anybody have any questions about how this might go?
I can add a question if I have one.
Yes, absolutely. Please do. In order to get, if you are content with what you've read, if you want to move ahead and do the payroll warrant from last week that we signed on the off week, we can do that. So there was payroll warrant 49, 49-1, 47, 49, and 49. And so I guess I would accept a motion approving all of the payrolls that you were able to sign last week. Does that make sense? Anybody want to make that motion?
I move to pay payroll warrant P49 for $156, P14-49-1 for $148,063.91, PD 14-47A for $137,349.24, PD 14/49 for $46,520.77, and P 14-49 for $131,905.36. Now, I don't know if anybody's excluded on this.
I am.
Which one?
Which one is Jack excluded on, which one am I excluded?
Because you were excluded on P1449-1, and Jackie was excluded on P1449-2.
So,
I don't have a...
That was the amount in 156.
Okay, because I don't have a 2.
I apologize.
Okay, I'll do it again. Payroll warrant 14-47A, $137,349.24. PD 1449 for $46,520.77, and P 1449 for $131,905.36. We all can vote on that.
Yeah. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Now, I'll take the other ones separately. This is Vicky, you exclude yourself. Payroll warrant 49-2, you said, for $156.
Is there a second?
You second, Jen?
All in favor?
Aye.
No, Jackie, you need to abstain.
Okay, and this one's for you. You need to abstain. Payroll warrant P1449-1 for $148,063.91. Have a second? Second. All those in favor?
I abstain.
The one we're doing later, right?
Yeah,
We're doing
we
that
have,
now. Can we do that now?
we can do it now, because we have,
Bill warrant W-14-50 for $651,206.62.
you need to ask for a second.
Need a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
I
Aye.
abstain. The signed papers on the top.
Are we already?
We have to wait till 6:15.
Oh, we have more stuff to sign.
Oh, we have more stuff to sign, let's be signing.
Keep going.
Okay. We have 2 personal change forms. The first is for Jean Risk, who we have hired to work in the building inspector and board of health office. The second is for Johanna Douglas, who was hired as the new children's librarian.
No,
Norm-
Jean, she's going from temporary to full-time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I don't think it's full-time,
Permanent.
permanent, yeah. So normally the process is that this goes to, didn't the PPP, they didn't
Goes
get,
PPP, then finance, then us.
PPP didn't get these?
They did.
They're not signed by the PPP.
That was before they signed that afternoon. So they were
So-
copied.
Okay, so these went to the PPPB, and then normally it goes to finance, and then it comes to us. In an effort to not slow down the hiring of these two permanent employees, the finance committee is meeting tomorrow. So I would recommend that the select board sign, what is the word I need to use?
February 10th.
Well, I would I'd like to.
Upon approval of the finance committee.
Because
Continue on
I
signing.
think that we have a protocol here, and we
We
got
do.
trouble before, and we said we weren't gonna do it anymore until all the proper signatures were done before we signed it. So
You are right,
I have no problem saying, giving you the authorization to sign it after they sign
after
it.
they sign it. So that's fine with me. But can we give authorization to someone else to sign? Because I will not be here tomorrow, and I would hate for this to slow up after their meeting. They meet at 2 o'clock tomorrow.
We're meeting at 2 o'clock tomorrow.
So is there anybody who's available to come in and sign for the Board of Selectmen tomorrow afternoon?
You can be here sometime tomorrow. You can be here, Heather?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Do I need a motion to do that?
Make a motion to authorize a board member to be determined to sign these warrants after the sign these personal change forms after the finance committee signs off on them.
Second.
Question, was this gone through the process of advertising, and,
Yes.
okay, because it says she was an emergency employee.
She was hired as an emergency employee, then they posted the job, and then they interviewed, and it's gone through all the right steps. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. We have 8 minutes.
That's okay, we have more stuff. Liquor license holders.
I'll make a motion to sign the one-day liquor license for Conant Park for Matt Christie.
Is everything attached to all these, Heather?
Yes.
Okay.
Have a second?
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, sorry.
I have a one-day liquor permit for Conant Park for Lisa Shepherdson. Everything's intact.
Do I have a second? This is the second one for Lisa Shepherdson. There's a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
I also have a one-day liquor permit for Conant Park for Karen Collier. Everything's attached.
Do I have a second?
Second, and you sign all these.
Yeah. I just thought you might want to look at them before I sign them.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
There's another one, if you want those. Okay, that must be the one.
Look at that, I looked at them on here, so.
Oh, okay, sorry.
What is this? This is for chapter 90?
That's the next item on the agenda. It's too long.
Well, I think we should have other signatures on there too. But,
More people.
yeah, because it puts everything to, I didn't like it before when I had it. I signed everything for the right side and the left side of the document, and there's something to the right, but the board didn't want to do it. But I think you being in there should be added there as a second person. You know, I'm making a recommendation, there's a Commonwealth of Massachusetts contract for a authorized secretary's name for contracts with chapter 90. I'm recommending that Randall be authorized as well as Heather to sign those documents.
Do you want to add Heather's name to the signatory page?
Yes.
And the reason how we've done like that in the past is?
My experience with it, the board wanted me to do other signatures before, and it was kind of cumbersome, plus there was no check and balance, and I prefer to have a check and balance.
Was that a motion? further discussion?
Just question here, it doesn't have any limits on contract signatures that I can see, so we don't want to authorize folks to sign unlimited dollar amounts and bind the town.
The way this has been going, John, DOT, or Department of Transportation, is requiring this for every contract that comes with Chapter 90. It's a standard form, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And in past, I was signatories for the town as well as the highway department, and I just thought it was it'd be better if there was a town member as well as the highway department.
Does that
I
mean
agree.
that both people on here have to sign the same document?
Yes.
So both people need to be signing, not just one? Oh, that makes sense.
Now, is this strictly for Chapter 90 monies?
This would be for Chapter 90.
So is the motion just for Chapter 90 signatures?
Chapter 90 signature, yes.
So, I mean, if we, I don't know that the motion went that way, but if you want.
It did. Recommendation authorized Chapter 90 for Randall and Heather to be.
Okay, so it's just Chapter 90. I'm okay with that.
Any other discussion? Can I write your name on here? Sure. All those in favor?
Aye.
Budrewicz.
Wow.
You got it?
You're not really that mad then today.
Town administrator. Let's see if I can get that one right. Administrator. Do I need to sign this on the bottom or no?
Yes, ma'am.
There'll be another piece of document, you have to go swear in front of the
We already
treasurer.
have one from, we have extra, so I will. Hi.
You missed it, Randall.
You need me for anything? I'm just here for another meeting.
No, we just added Heather's name to the list.
All right.
Okay.
Do
Okay.
you want me to wait 2 more minutes or can we get started?
Almost.
Anybody have any other- Okay. So, Mr. Scott, how are you? Would you mind coming and sitting right over there at that table behind the desk?
In the hot seat.
No pressure.
We don't fight.
It's not the first time I've been on the hot seat.
There you go.
Well, the real task is figuring out how to get around that desk.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Very good, thank you.
Good, thanks for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, Mr. Scott is here because he's applied to be our new building commissioner and zoning enforcement officer. Correct me when I'm wrong. So, Mr. Scott, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in this position?
I've been in the construction industry for about almost 40 years. Started out like most people in the building houses and additions. I did government block grant funded projects when Jimmy Carter was president a long, long time ago. And went to school for financing. Worked my way doing construction, and eventually morphed into working full-time in the construction industry. In the 90s, my two daughters were fairly young, and I decided that I wanted to try to do something with some benefits, vacation, paid vacation, all those good things that a lot of people in life have, and when you don't have when you're self-employed. So I was working in Franklin, and I had been asked to apply for a part-time building inspector's position. And I was building in some condominium projects. And so I applied for it, and they offered me the job and got my certifications, and then went from there to the town of Bedford, the full-time position. Held that job for a year, and then was offered a position working for the city of Worcester as one of their senior building officials. And worked there for about 5 years. Basically, I had to approve everything for zoning and plan review. So I had a lot of meetings with lawyers and developers, and, local people, small builders, and I also sat with the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Planning Board, and the License Commission, liquor licenses and such, and would sit in on Concom occasionally, and I provided the expertise on zoning and building codes for projects that went before many of these city boards. And I left that. It was pretty much a thankless position at the time, and the town, the city manager. It was a combined department. It was probably 110 people that worked in the department, and the two of the man that ran the whole health and code department and the director of the code department were on the outs with the city manager, and it became a very unhealthy place to be when people are ducking and dodging. So I was offered a position to start up a consulting business, and so I sat on the other side of the table. I still have friends, a few of them still work in Worcester, but most of them have moved on, but still very friendly with them. And so I sat on the other side of the table representing builders and developers and people that own property that want to develop their property, and I did presentations before zoning boards and planning boards and historical commissions and architectural design commissions for a variety of towns. And I had quite a few large developers that were my private clients. And when the economy started to go south, I told my bigger clients to start saving their money and to sell off their bad property. Basically, I advised my clients to put me out of business. I was asked to start up a company, a division of a company that we did only public construction. So I ran that for about 4.5 years, and we did the Wisteria Hearst Museum, the Carriage House project. That was one of my projects. In Easthampton, in one of their parks, we did public bathrooms. It looks like a little train station. That was one of our projects. And a variety of other different projects. And when I was working for myself, one of the things back before I did this, I got certified by the Inspector General's office for the MCPPO program, purchasing program, and to oversee public construction, public projects over $1.5 million. And as part of that, I represented the Wachusett School District before they did their $53 million expansion. They did a modular expansion because they couldn't get 5 towns to agree what they were going to do. And then I oversaw a wastewater treatment plant project, and I oversaw a very complex Brownsfield combination DPW project and a variety of other things. And I went back. I was getting burned out in public construction, so I went back and was offered a position in the town of Belmont, which is about 5 minutes from downtown Boston. And it's in a community. The office is community development. It's got about a $14 million budget. We oversee. My boss, the director, is the town's engineer. It's a unique position. A number of years ago, they had a lot of issues with the building commissioner, and so they thought they'd solve that by combining the town engineer position and the building commissioner's position. And that was Tom Gitzunas. that was the first one to have that position. So my boss worked under him right out of college. So we oversee road construction. We permit sewer tie-ins, stormwater management, stormwater tie-ins. We're the building inspectors, zoning. We provide zoning interpretations. There's another person in our office that works with the planning board and the zoning board. We have a Concom person in our office. We have 3 secretaries or administrative assistants in our office. And we also are kind of the quasi-police department, where if it can't be enforced by the police department, then we enforce it. Like, snow removal on the public sidewalks, any number of items that you can imagine that a community 5 minutes from downtown Boston, 24,000 people in 4.2 square miles. Our homes are tear down homes set you back $600,000, and then they tear it down and they build themselves a $1 million home on a 5,000 square foot lot. And so when I took that job, I was my mother-in-law lived in Milford, and she was living by herself, and she was in her early 80s. And so we thought it would be good. I lived there during the week, stay with her. And it was a 45-minute commute, down the Mass Pike up 128, and I'd be in my office. I worked. They set my hours. I work from 6. I get usually into my office about 6:30 a.m. So I technically work 7 to 4. And then about a year ago, she passed away from cancer very suddenly, and so now I've been commuting from my house, driving Route 2 for an hour and a half, and it's killing me. It is killing me. So that's why I wanted something closer, and I've had my fill of the Boston area and the drivers and the craziness that's in the Metro Boston area. And I was looking for something that was not high-tech and not so, the people aren't so willing to be extremely demanding and have no understanding of what they're being demanding about.
Thank you. Jackie?
Hello, welcome to Southampton.
Thank you.
I had a question. Do you know of any new updates for the 780 CMR?
Well, in 2015, the 9th edition is going to be coming out. And as of July 1st, the energy code is going to change.
I just have one more. If you get the job, are you going to move to Southampton, or?
No, I live in Barry. It's about 55 minutes.
Commute?
Yeah.
How far is it?
About 55 minutes.
That's not bad.
It's Route 202.
Yeah.
It's a nice drive.
My mom used to live there. I would say that's much more than that, but, so you go 2 and 202, Phillipston, and right over?
No, I just go right down 202. It's through...
Through Hoyoke and over to Muller Bridge?
Yeah.
Yeah. You go straight up 202?
Yeah.
But Amherst can be a nightmare.
I'm sorry?
Amherst driving through can be a nightmare.
Yeah, well, there's a back way, because when I was building in Easthampton, the little project there, I like 50 minutes. It's it's all about timing.
I did that commute, but from Southampton to Fitchburg.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, Fitchburg's, yeah.
I did the UMass thing a couple of times. It was like double the time.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I'm in Collie, I'm one of the selectmen. You look awful familiar. I don't know if we've crossed paths before, but...
I get that a lot for some reason.
Well, you got it again. This particular job is a combination building inspector, zoning enforcement. And, it's pretty much, some days it might be all enforcement, some days it might be all, building inspection and stuff like that. We have been for the last several years going through a lot of home construction with some modest commercial building going on. What is it, 30 hours a week, 20 hours a week? 30 hours a week. And you have office hours and stuff like that. You're being paid. With that in mind, and looking at your background, how are you going to keep yourself from getting bored?
Being a building official is never boring,
Well,
and zoning is certainly
when I
never
see your
boring.
resume, you're involved with a lot of heavy-duty stuff,
Yes.
which is good. It's good for us, but sometimes it could be not as exciting as it was before.
I've had the excitement.
Okay.
I'm in my mid-50s, and I don't need the excitement. That's really why that's one of the driving factors why I'm doing this. I have no desire to, I've had offers. I have a company that wants to have me oversee large projects again, and I don't need that anymore. I made a lot of money. I did very well for myself, my family, and I really don't need to do all that anymore. It's not a, there is no fascination. Once you've built a wastewater treatment plant, you don't need to know a whole hell of a lot more about anything else. It's about as complicated as they get. But it's not where I want to be at, is doing that type of work anymore.
Okay. In regards to your experience with enforcement, you've had a sheer amount of, you have much background in enforcement?
Yes.
Zoning code,
Yes.
code.
Yes.
Okay.
I've been,
Tell me what you've done in enforcement that would be unique.
well, one of the things that I did for the city of Worcester was every Wednesday I was in court. I was the senior official to help the other inspectors. And I basically was there to provide technical expertise and interpretations to the judge.
Were they like mostly housing violations as
No.
far as?
No, we were not that was a whole different division of our office. We were just
I have a little bit of that here.
just building, I'm sure, I'm sure that there would be some of that. But no, we were just zoning and building code.
John?
I just want to follow up on one of Ed's questions. I'm John Martin, and thanks for coming. You had made a comment, said not where I want to be anymore, which was the exciting, fascinating part. So where do you want to be? What do you sense the town is all about, I guess? What draws you?
Well, I think that any smaller community, being a building official, whether you're working in New York City or you're working in where I live in Barry, Mass. as a building official, you have basically the same issues. Only the magnitude of scale is different. You're still going to have neighbors that complain. You're still going to have people that are fighting. You're going to have people that don't understand that you're not there to tell them no. You're there to make sure that what they want to do is safe for them and their neighbors and their guests, and that it's our job to try to help them to be able to do what they want to do in a safe and secure manner. And whether that be, coming to some kind of a resolution between two neighbors that are fighting over the location of a fence, or fighting over a tree that's overhanging, or they did their driveway over and it's on my property, or, I want to know why they got a shed over here, and, all those myriad of reasons why people get upset.
I guess you don't need the fascination, I guess after listening to what you said, is more the hectic environment there, same issues here, but in a more low-key type.
Correct.
You live in Belmont?
I'm sorry?
You live in Belmont?
No. I work in Belmont.
Oh, you work in Belmont?
So I'll ask the last question while you're reviewing that, if you want.
I'm sorry, you know.
Go ahead, John.
Don't worry about it.
I apologize.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I guess the last question, you're coming from Belmont, which we've established.
Sorry.
I'm just taking Dave a little. We get to do that a little bit, you know. In lieu of getting a salary, we get to have fun. So salary for the position is $50,000. So I'm going to assume that's lower than what you're getting there, and it's a good sized commute and all that. So all that in itself, if you got the position, would that be a salary that would suffice for you in short term and longer term, obviously with escalation as you go forward? But we're looking for somebody that's going to stay for a while rather than use it as a small jumping stone to somewhere else.
Well, I'm not looking to jump around. I'm really not, it is not something that I want to be doing.
I guess more, would that salary suffice? Because there's not a whole lot of negotiation that we have in there
Sure.
because of the way it's set in the
Yeah.
budget and all that.
Yep, no, I understand it. No, that's a reasonable amount for the time that you want. It's a reasonable amount. I don't have a problem with that. And believe me, you know, I'm sure we'll work together on setting some hours, and make them so that they're reasonable for the townspeople to be able to be there. I mean, one of the biggest peeves that a lot of towns folks have in any community is the hours of availability for the building inspector. The builders want to get in and they want to get out early in the morning. They're not interested in coming to see you at noontime or 1 o'clock, or they're making hay. And the townspeople, they like to have one night a week or something that they can come in after work, so that they can not be rushing to go and take off. So, you know, I'm not sure what your hours would be, or if that would be something that would be negotiated, but certainly there would be the ability and I would have the freedom to be able to work something out that, you know, everybody would be able to see me.
I mean, the way the hours are here, and I'm only reading, so I'm not.
I didn't see him, I'm sorry.
Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 4, and every other Tuesday, 6 to 8. But I would agree with you, when somebody wants to go in for, a contractor wants to go in, they want to see you at 7 in the morning to get out and do the job, rather than wait until 3, so.
I work 5 days a week, 6 till noon time.
6 till noon? Okay. And no evenings?
Every other Tuesday.
So it sounds like we have some flexibility based on the position.
David?
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
My apologies, Mr. Chairman.
No trouble.
Mr. Scott, how you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Ed, you got a haircut, you look good.
Oh.
Thanks for looking younger.
We're staying on track today.
Yes, I am. Town of Belmont. My cousins live in Belmont, they live on Tupelo Road.
Uh-huh.
Two-family, home.
I'm hoping he didn't deny him a permit, Dave.
No, I mean, the house is well established, and the kids were all growing out of there. Pretty tight. You know, a lot of stuff going on there.
Yes.
Commercial right on top of residential, it's kind of hodgepodge, really kind of busy.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't happening here. I mean, it's really kind of much slower here. So, why are you attracted to coming to Southampton?
It's because of the fact that it's slower here.
Okay. I mean, it's lower here.
Yeah, I understand that.
You know what I'm saying?
Everybody's so amazed that I don't want to be in 5 minutes from downtown Boston.
I go to Boston just about every weekend. My dad lives in Charlestown, Navy. I go to see him just about every weekend. I'm going to see him this weekend. So I go to Boston every weekend, just about.
Yeah.
So I get the traffic and all that stuff. But Southampton is a small town.
Yes.
It is. It's 6,000 people. Is it 28 square miles? Ed?
25 or something.
25 square miles.
Mhm.
About a third of it is a reservoir, will never be developed. You don't have sewage, so a lot of the soil conditions are not conducive to building new homes, a lot of ledge and stuff. So it probably will be contained to a certain amount,
Mhm.
just because sewage and stuff down. So it's not really that busy. Won't you be bored?
It's interesting because I was asked that question
I'm
earlier.
sorry, I missed that.
No, that's okay. No, I won't be bored. I'm sure that there'll be plenty to keep me occupied.
Okay. What don't you like about the town of Belmont?
It's not that I don't like it. It's that we are, I work in a department that everybody comes to for everything. So I'll explain to you, we're in the community development office, and it's about a $14 million budget. My boss, the director, is also the town engineer. The DPW does not have a town engineer. The DPW director is not an engineer. So we oversee all the road repairs. We oversee 2 sewer tie-ins, stormwater management control, stormwater tie-ins. When the roads are being rebuilt, since you've been to Belmont, I'm sure you're aware that the roads are like the worst in the state.
No, the roads are worse than this. We keep up the former roads, and they have the back roads here.
So, they're always spending about $3-4 million a year redoing the roads. We also oversee all that. My office that I work in sends out all of the RFIs, RFPs, the bidding, oversee all that stuff. The DPW is basically a maintenance department for the town of Belmont. And we also do all the zoning and determinations, and we also do all of the catch-all for, like, in the wintertime, the sidewalk shoveled.
You guys do that.
We do all that.
Rich, you don't do that, do you? Rich, what's your budget?
Yeah, I think it was around 66,000.
What's your, first of all, have you ever developed a budget?
I have, but not for that, not for there. That's the director's job.
Okay, and you say it's $14 million?
Yeah.
That's a little bit more than,
Town's 13, right?
we're about 15 million total budget. Yeah, for the town.
Well, it's a different community.
And just on the side, do you know anybody at the State House?
At the State House?
Are you politically connected?
No. No.
I just asked that, because the Knappicks get all the money for Western. They spent $500,000 on a clock, and we use $500,000 to fix the roads here. And that's all politics. I was just wondering, have you spent some time with
I'm in my tenure, working on a variety of different projects and working for, with, and dare I say against different municipalities. My fill for politics has been overflowing. So I really don't need to be involved in
I don't think Rich is involved in much in
politics. It's not something that I want to be involved in.
So you would stay living in Barry, right?
Yes. Yes.
So how'd you end up in Barry?
Boy, oh boy.
Why Barry?
I was actually, when I met my wife, we were living in Framingham, and she became pregnant, and I was helping a friend in Barry who was building some houses, and he called me up and said, I need some help, can you bail me out? So I drove out. My brother lives in Ocam, or lived in Ocam at the time, and I dated a girl from North Brookfield in college. So I went and came out there. It was beautifully. I grew up in Northborough back when Northborough was 5,000 people. And so I liked the country. I had no desire to raise my children in a Framingham environment. And, much to my wife's chagrin, we bought some land, we built a house, and to this day, she still reminds me that we live out in the woods, surrounded by 400 acres of wildlife land, and you've got to go down a dirt road to find our house.
Now, in Belmont, obviously, they have sewer.
Some of it, they still have houses on septic.
They really do. I didn't know that.
There's a big section of town, the hill, the hill, the Belmont.
Golf course?
There's the, no, it's above the golf course. There's a section of Belmont that's called the hill, and that's where the estates are.
Okay, so
And
you
that's
are familiar
some
with
of
septic systems and Title V and
Yep.
whatnot?
Yep.
All right. Do you have any questions for us?
No, wait a minute, I got a question. You mind if I have a
sorry.
question then?
Thank you so much. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Doug, I see here in your credentials, you have an emergency management agency badge.
Yes.
What was your role?
It was a course that they had us take a number of years ago, after the hurricanes. And so we were trained. I haven't done it in a long time, to be. Yeah, I haven't done it in a long time. But it was training to, what to do in the case of a tornado coming through.
Condemning property and demolishing?
Yeah.
I was just curious, because we were looking.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Do you have any questions for us?
That was my question.
You're out.
I think he answered my questions for the most part. He told me what the salary was, how many hours it was. There's really not, it's a strong select board. So, you hire and fire. Is it at will, or is it a contract, or what is the position?
You are the contract?
By appointment.
By you, yearly appointment.
So, I mean, would you want to look at a contract?
I think that's something that we can have a conversation
Yeah,
about.
I think if somebody's making a choice like this, I think it would be important to have a contract. So,
Well, that's something that we can.
I was just
discuss.
curious. I didn't mean to
No,
get.
it's fine.
No, it's good. That is a good question.
No, that's fine.
Position doesn't turn over much, and we're looking at these one at a time.
How long have you been a building inspector here?
10 years.
Doug, another thing too is you will be called if there's a fire.
Oh, sure.
in Buildings and stuff
Yep.
like that. And you don't have an assistant to come in. so
No, I understand.
You'll have to realize that, and you'll be the guy coming in.
You'd be amazed at how many people drive through plate glass windows in Belmont.
Let's hope that doesn't happen. All right, well, if there's no more questions.
I was just gonna say, the comment that it seems like we're trying to dissuade you from coming here, but it's a great town. A lot of great people, a lot of new development, a lot of great houses.
Heather's coming from April.
Yeah.
So I was gonna
She-
comment,
she-
we have attracting outside.
It seems like we're
But I
saying,
know
why do you
we-
wanna come here? It's a great town to come to.
Yes, it is.
No, it seems like a very pleasant town.
It is.
I mean, I'm familiar with the area, so,
Very good.
it's not
All right.
like out of my wheelhouse. Thank you very much.
so much for coming in.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks. Take care. I didn't know we were starting at 6, I'm sorry. Someone texted me at 5:45, says see you at 6.
That was me, reminding you.
Friendly reminder.
So our next interview is with Charlene, and is it Bayardi? Hi, how are you? Would you mind going and sitting over there in the hot seat? So you go for the seat next time, hot seat? Until I have
I'm sure when you get the question, why do you wanna come here, you've got that answer already, because from listening to the other gentleman.
Hi, how are you?
Pretty good.
Thanks for coming. So Charlene Bayardi is also here to apply for the building commissioner zoning enforcement officer. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in this position?
Okay, I've been a building inspector since 2005. And I'd like this position because it's 16 miles away from my house, and it would round out my work goals. I'm a commissioner in Worthington, Massachusetts, and also a commissioner in Goshen, Mass, and this would fit perfectly with those two jobs that are very, very part-time. It's very close to my house.
Are you still commissioner in South Hadley?
I'm an acting building commissioner in South Hadley since the other person was left. I was the assistant. Oh, I guess I still am the assistant. There's no one else down there right now. But,
And why do you think you'd be a good fit for this position in our town?
okay. Well, I've been a resident in this area for 33 years, and what I bring, I love this area. My children went to school in Hampshire Regional High School up the hill, Westhampton. What I bring to it is an extensive knowledge of the things that the building inspector would face. I've designed residential homes, timber frames, structural steel buildings, everything in between. I've been a project manager, an estimator. I have drawings here to show you if you'd like to see my work. I've done the gamut of things that you would actually be facing, and I think that's probably my biggest asset, is that I have a good history of experience. And I have a degree, a couple of degrees, so.
Okay.
And I absolutely love I love the profession. So.
Great. Jackie?
Hello.
Hi.
I was just wondering, do you know of any updates for the 780 CMR? Has there been any updates?
Okay. Yes, sir. The biggest one is Chapter 1, which is the Massachusetts amendments, which is already in effect. You have to get it off the internet, though it hasn't even been issued to us. Also, as the gentleman said, the energy upgrades are coming in July 1st, excuse me.
I'm just looking at your resume, and I noticed that there's just a lot of different positions here in different towns, and it doesn't seem like there's longevity in some of the positions, and I'm just wondering why.
Okay, motherhood is one. The desire to be with my children while they grew up. And so I my children are in their 30s, by the way, you know that. But when they were born and when they were in grade school, I wanted to be there for them on and off the bus. And so yeah. Yes, he is. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, sorry, I just saw that.
Okay. Luke is doing terrific. He's in California.
Oh, no. We play in the band together.
What's he doing in California?
Just saying.
Oh, yeah. He still has his trumpet. Can you believe it?
I saw my flute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things we learn.
Anyways, okay, so I started in Michigan and fell in love and came back to New York because, that's what we did back then, is follow our husbands instead of staying with our careers. We went with their careers. I had excellent work in New York City with two sister companies, and that's why there's a couple of companies there, because they were sister companies. And then when the height of the Vietnam War, when that happened, New York was under siege, and I had an opportunity to. I was working for a sister company of Robert Durrell Stone Architects, and they designed the library at UMass. And they asked me to come out and be the liaison between the architect, the building of the structure, and the school.
Is
And
that the library that wasn't built strong enough for the books?
yeah. Yes, it was. I was working on the General Motors building on 57th Fifth Avenue, which is in white marble. It depleted a marble quarry in Italy, but it was that structure. If you look at that structure, it's shrunken down, and that's the library. And what UMass was doing at the time was just picking very famous architects, and they were retrofitting some of their work so that they could do a very down and dirty and job. It's not that it's not strong. It is definitely strong enough for the books.
That's the urban legend.
Right. The problem was that the outside skin of bricks was not fastened correctly. The mortar was not correctly mixed, and that's why the pieces were coming off in sheets. So.
Thank you. John?
Just a question, it looks like you have your own design company since 1980 to present.
Yeah, that's how I kept food on the table, while I could also be a mother at home. And I did a lot. I did a lot of different things. I was the Western Massachusetts representative to handicapped people that would like to go back to work. So I went to their home, retrofitted their houses so they could go into a car, go out, or function in their house, and then go to their place of business, and at the business function in there too. My degree in industrial design, I had two majors, and one of them was industrial design, to design. One of the things is machinery, and as you can see, I did work as a plant layout engineer at Spalding, and I designed machinery, and so I also retrofitted the machines for the people that needed something like that. So that kept me going, and I did a lot of other things too with that. I would get work from people that would want estimates done, or specifications written. I actually grabbed a hold of anything at all that I could. So.
I guess my follow-up question is, I was going to ask, when you had that design firm, did you sub out your design work to these other companies? Because Jackie said they were short-term. Did you sub out, or did you actually on their payroll also?
No, those were all full-time jobs.
Okay. I wasn't sure since you had your own company. I didn't know if you were like a subcontractor.
No, that was and I still have my company. I still do our jobs on the side. But when you're in the construction I can tell you why I left everyone. Again, circumstances of life. When I was working for Architectural Timber and Millwork, doing timber frames, all of our clients were in those towers. So we lost 12 people that were our clients, and the firm went from 38 people down to 8 people in a couple of days. So that's that, And let's see, the economy hit a couple of times. When I was working for O'Leary's here, there was a huge slowdown in structural steel buildings, although we did quite a few. The ones that are listed are the ones that I designed personally, so we did do quite a few. But the economy, it's a fluctuating profession, the construction world.
Do you see any conflict in having your own design industrial and architectural firm and being a building inspector? If someone came to you in town and wanted to use you as a private company also? How would you handle that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I wouldn't think that it would be unethical to work in this town. but I'm not really doing very much of anything right now. I worked for 6 architects in the Southport, Westport area when I was working for Ray Forehand and Biardi Associates. Once in a while, I'll do I'll help them with a roof or something. They'll send me something unusual and I'll work on that. It's almost a hobby. But I have no time. Juggling 3 jobs is tremendous, and I'm also, on Saturday, I'll be taking the last test for my commissionership to be totally certified, so that's,
Good luck on that.
yeah, thanks.
So do you think you could, just following from that you can manage the full-time position here as well as your other 2
Yes,
positions?
yes, very much so. Goshen is 6 hours on Monday, and then I do go up and do inspections here and there. They did 1 house last year. So not quite a few renovations, but, they're pretty slow. It's more zoning up there than anything else.
So you wouldn't be available most of the day on Monday?
No, it's, office hours are 6 to 9.
At night?
Yep, and then Worthington is 6 to 9 on Tuesdays. And then I usually go up on the weekends, but then again, there's not that much building up there either.
Now, we have these meetings every other week that you'd have to have office hours every other week, right? 6 to 8. So how would that impact? Would it be Tuesday? How would that impact Worthington?
Well, Worthington I could rearrange. They're pretty flexible. I have my own office and I make my own appointments. I have a cell phone and people get hold of me, for questions. And that would vary. Maybe we could work out something where every other week if they wanted me there on a Tuesday and and then it could come every other week down here on another day or something. It's
So why Southampton, besides being close?
That's the main reason. Oh, I love this area. I've been here 33 years. I own my own home that I built myself. And,
Did you live in Chesterfield, right?
yes, I do.
Did you ever work with Donna Jen?
Work with her?
Interact with her at all?
I know of her.
Okay. Did you do work, I'm sorry, I'm mixing up where you live, where you work. So you didn't work in Chesterfield as a building inspector?
Yes, I actually did for a time, but it was an emergency case. Paul Tacey quit in an argument with whatever, and left 4 towns without a building inspector. They called me up and they knew I was up in Chesterfield and they asked me if I could do it. At the time I was full-time in Springfield, and I said yes, crazy as it was. And I did. For almost 9 months, I did 4 towns: Huntington, Middlefield, Goshen, and Chesterfield. And slowly by slowly, they were able to pick up their own building inspectors. And Goshen asked me to stay. And
Did you ever work with David Kearns in Middlefield? He's actually chair of the select board.
he's, pardon?
Chair of the select board in Middlefield, did you work with him?
I most likely met him during the interviews and stuff. Middlefield, I didn't do very much up there. It was a fill-in because they had no one, so I'd go up. I was probably up there 4 times.
And have you ever interacted with any of the local builders?
Oh, definitely.
Mr. Boyle, the Breeze?
Yes,
Mr.
yes,
Winter,
yes.
And
Winter.
do you feel that you have a good working relationship with those?
The local people, yes, very much so, yes.
And so you're working at Worthington on Tuesday nights. You feel that you could switch that around?
I can, yes. I really set my own office hours there. They set it up that way because the boards meet there every other week. So, but I go up every single week, so, I could rearrange that, yes.
So Dave, Rich, sorry. You are a commissioner And you were as an inspector than a commissioner, correct?
Yes, local inspector.
So you went through the testing process and became a commissioner, and you're a commissioner as well.
I have one test to be totally certified. You have a certain amount of time to do that in. I have till September, and then I can ask for an extension, but my very last test is Saturday.
So, okay.
So,
Shirley, I noticed you have a lot of experience in the building trades, but I don't see a lot of experience here with zoning enforcement. Am I missing something? That's half the job.
Yes, because it is half the job. Worthington is half the job. Goshen, it's 2/3 of the job. Springfield, it was probably half the job also. And South Hadley, it's half the job. It's always half the job. Because the zoning laws are your laws, the town's laws. You've made them up to customize them to what is real in your town and what you want to accomplish with the character that you have in your town. And those are just as important as all the building laws. And they take up a lot of time because what you're doing is you're assessing two sides of the story usually and looking at the code, interpreting, writing letters, documenting, and trying to resolve conflicts.
Have you had any experience going to court over these issues?
Definitely, yes, I do. Springfield, I went to court quite a bit. I lived through the tornado there as a building inspector. I had 2/3 of the city. I had all the projects on the right-hand side of Boston Road for 8.5 years. And after the tornado, there were many, many times that I would have to write reports and present them to the housing court. Yes, I have been at housing court a lot. I'm sorry, I thought I had stuck some, I could show you some work, some letters, and graphically I think I present my ideas. Yeah, I could, I'm sorry, I don't have any, I have my work, but
I just want to see the kind of issues you're dealing with.
For court cases?
No, zoning enforcement.
Oh, zoning enforcement.
Did you ever
Okay.
have to-
I have one,
Did you
sorry.
ever have to deal with chicken?
Chickens.
Or chicken manure?
The smell of chicken manure?
Yes.
Yeah.
No?
No, but I'll tell you a couple of things about this zoning. Yes, I mean, chickens, yes. I mean, South Hadley, chickens, yes, definitely. Springfield, yes. North End, you will find them on the 4th floor of all apartments. They're legal. You can have so many chickens.
In your house?
Yes, in apartment
Where you live?
house. Yes. So, yes, you have, I have dealt with chickens.
So you're chicken side.
Yeah, pretty much so.
Do you have any questions for us?
No, I would like to answer your question, though, about the zoning. Okay. And I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Albert's Farm complex up in Worthington. And it was abandoned.
You know the peanut farm there?
Yes,
The airstrip?
yes.
Yeah.
And if you're on the main road, 112, you'll go by these massive barns. And after years and years and years of the town trying to deal with that, it will be coming down this coming week. I accomplished that by going through the law, documenting, sending out all the proper letters, writing the letters to all the 8 people that still had a hold on that property, getting a committee together, surveying it, which is by law what you have to do, and then getting it properly condemned, going to court, and getting the town a grant to be able to, recoup the expense by taking over the land. So from start to finish, I'm pretty proud of that one right now. It went very well. So I have dealt with pretty complicated ones, and chickens too. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Quick question. I don't know if we asked why you left the Springfield Building Department in 2012.
I was asked to leave.
Or asked them?
Yep.
Is there some background you can give us, or is that something you really not? Did it involve chickens?
No. It's an ongoing, the state is still in its process of investigating the building department in Springfield. I'd like to say that my part, I am a person of integrity. I'm incredibly proud of every single thing I did there. I did a beautiful job, and I left with dignity and my self-worth.
That's fair, thank you.
Do you have any questions for us?
No. Well, not really. I think I heard everything about them.
If you were to ask Andy
So-
Rich, for instance, as the current building inspector, would that help you at all, or
Pardon?
would you like to ask the current
Um,
building inspector any questions?
I've kind of done my homework. And I,
Does anyone in the audience?
Does anyone in the audience have any questions?
oh,
Brad, do you have any questions?
You, Brad. I just noticed that you were sitting there, I just thought maybe if you were sitting there, I'd ask you if you have any questions.
you do look familiar.
All set. That's right, Glenn,
Yeah.
you know who it is.
Hi.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming in,
Okay.
and
Do we want to, what's our rest of the process?
I think we'll have a conversation when we're done with this, and, probably within the next week or so, we'll be getting back to people.
Actually, I do have a question.
Yes, go ahead, sir. Is it about chickens?
If the law is presented to you, the town bylaws, are you willing to enforce them as opposed to saying, I might get sued if I follow the bylaws? In other words, this gentleman here said he didn't want to sign a paper enforcing the laws on chickens.
Oh,
And therefore, I want to know, would you be willing to sign it? The select board had to go and sign it. Because he was afraid he'd get sued.
I don't know where you came up with that. but I-
Well, that guy came up with it.
Okay, so I think that if you would like to address whether or not you're willing to enforce the zoning bylaws, then that's one thing, but although I understand your concerns, perhaps that's for a different, that conversation could happen at a different
I
time.
won't, that's what I understood, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but that's my question.
okay. I think getting back to the issue of why I left Springfield, that's exactly why I left Springfield. I would not do anything that was against the letter of the law. And I follow it to a T, and I'm willing to compromise, of course, and look at things and, see equal things that are correct, but I'm not willing to do anything that's against the law.
Which would follow the law.
Yes, I certainly would.
That's all I need to know.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in, I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
No show and tell, too bad.
Have a good night, thank you. Hi.
I have to ask the same questions, like about chickens to this gentleman.
Hi. How are you?
How you doing? Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. This is Damian Cody, is that how you say your last name?
That's right.
And he's also here to apply for the building commissioner zoning enforcement officer position. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in this position?
Okay. Well, I am from Holyoke originally. I've been all over the place. I served in the Marines for some years and came back to this area because I liked it. before I left, and have since spent many years in college, I'd say from 2000 to 2010, on and off, not straight through, completing a master's degree. Spent many years in the building trades, all the way from when I was very young, I'd say 17 years old, and on, aside from the time I spent in the Marines, and have been the building commissioner in the city of Holyoke for a little over 2 years.
And why did you want to leave the city of Holyoke and your job there?
I was hoping you guys could get me some sleep. It's very busy. It's a great place, but
Very busy. Need some rest. Right? Why do you feel like you would be a good fit for this position in our town? And we're much smaller than Holyoke and certainly wants to be.
I think if somebody can handle Holyoke at the workload that it has, I think anybody that can handle Holyoke successfully could probably handle a smaller town without a problem. And I've lived in smaller towns. I've lived in Granby. I've lived in South Hadley, Chicopee. Even that's not a smaller town than Holyoke, but I understand that there's definitely some differences politically in terms of government, how it's set up. You know, the bylaws are different than ordinances, things like that. But if you're looking for somebody who is going to dedicate all of their time to the city or the town, in this case, focus on it, you know, I can be that person.
Jackie?
Hello. I was just curious as to, do you know if all about the updates, or what are the updates to the 780 CMR?
There's updates constantly, so I guess in short I would say yes. There was some just happened 2 weeks ago for a few chapters.
Wow, great resume. I'm actually from Holyoke, so.
Ah.
What part of Holyoke did you grow up in?
My family's traditionally from downtown, which is on North Bridge Street, and some are still there. Many have moved to the higher lands, you know, of the area, and so I live in Smiths Ferry now.
Are you related to the oil? Is it Cody Oil? Yeah.
Related to no Cody's. Many other French names, but not that one.
And you were in the service. Could you tell us about that?
I was in the 90s. I spent 4 years as an infantryman with a specialization in demolitions. Like I said, I traveled all over the place, training in the United States for everything under the sun. That's how the infantry works. First duty station was Guantanamo Bay, where I was a guard. After that, it gets a little blurry, but I've been to Japan, Korea, and a few others, but it was basically go, go, go. And 4 years was enough.
So you came to Southampton for some peace.
Well, it's actually a town I really, you know, it's the kind of place I like. I don't know if my wife would agree with it, but in Southampton is a lot like Granby in the sense that there's some land with all the houses, a lot easier going in some sense, though I know that a lot of zoning things are completely different in a city than they are to a town, so easy going is relative, but.
Here's a good question. Have you looked at our zoning laws, our bylaws at all, compared them to Holyoke?
I did briefly a while ago, but Holyoke has, it must be, I've looked at many towns because I've helped them rewrite a lot of their zoning ordinances, if not half, in the last 2 years, to make up for some deficiencies and also keep up with the ever-changing laws, you know, like medical marijuana is one we're working on now because that's something that didn't exist when they originally wrote it, and you have to write something. If you don't, you're subject to the state laws. So Hoyokes are incredibly complex. I can tell you that the zoning ordinance is probably bigger than any I've come across. Even Springfield is a fraction of the size of Hoyokes. It's good because it's detailed, but it's not because it doesn't leave a lot of play for, I don't want to say interpretation, but if you leave things a little more vague, it's it's a little bit longer lasting in the change of times.
That's just a question. You own your own company, obviously, which is a great way to learn the trade. When you went to the building commission, I don't know how the building office is set up in Holyoke. Are you the only commissioner, or are there multiple commissioners?
The position, infrastructure they have is a building commissioner, an assistant building commissioner, and historically a local inspector, which they haven't funded in probably about 10 years. So they have the set up for 3 building inspectors, which also do all of the zoning enforcement. They don't designate it for a different person, so at this point there's 2.
And you are the only building commissioner? Or are you saying the other?
Well, I always refer to myself and the other gentleman as the commissioners, but he is the assistant building commissioner. I am the commissioner, so.
Okay. And you supervise 4 full-time staff and additional part-time, okay. And so that's the size of the office in Holyoke, basically, what you just described, which seems kind of small for Holyoke, to be honest with you, but I can see where you're very, very busy. And I think that's challenging, too. Now, obviously, we talked about the payroll being at the budget level of $50,000. Is that something that would be acceptable to you if you offered the position?
The pay would just have to be something that is relative to the time. So that's, for many years I taught college, and what I would do is have time where I could go teach a class. I haven't done it in the last year and a half because it's in conflict with Holyoke's schedule. I work till 3:30 every day and late on a Wednesday. So while I still could, it makes like 16-hour days also. So there's other things that if I had the flexibility to do it, for example, one class I taught was, just racking my memory here, but I used to teach from 6 to 9 p.m., but this is in Boston and in Providence, so it's not close. And I used to teach classes in the afternoon. It would only be 2 days a week, 1 class a semester is the maximum, but if there was other things available, it's possible. I have a number that is my minimum to make a living. Contrary to what people believe, Holyoke taxes, it might be cheaper, but I pay over $5,000, so that's quite a chunk of change, and I have a certain minimum I have to make, or I can't afford to be solely only able to work 1 job.
Just make sure I'm summarizing it. That salary would be reasonable if we could come up with the hours that would be flexible enough for you to earn extra on the side.
Absolutely, and I'm not looking to work a second full-time job or even that's what I'm trying to get away from. But I do miss college teaching, and that's something that's I've been bugged about going back into.
Where did you teach for college?
Montserrat College of Art and Rhode Island School of Design.
Okay.
They're probably not both on there. They're just they're adjunct positions.
David, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Sounds like you have the right skills in training because you're a current commissioner in Holyoke. And there was a time when we needed a little help in town, and Holyoke was helping us lead it 4 years ago, 3 years ago. But I'm just curious about the path you took, and it sort of gives me sort of an insight to how somebody sort of looks at things. I appreciate your commitment and serving in the Marine Corps. But I'm also interested in some of the other things that you did, and what was your goal at the time? You went from a psych major to get your master's in fine art, which is kind of cool in itself.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the thought process to that? What were you searching for at that time? Or you just sort of...
Well, I don't think that they're really separate because it was a double degree, it's 2 degrees, so I really just had the, I'd like to say I did one because I wanted to get out of the Spanish requirement or something, but it wasn't that simple. It was just, I enjoyed both. I like learning, so I did them both. I had a focus on architecture at the time also, and when I went to going to the master's program, the specifics were, it was easier to get into that specific program in the Rhode Island School of Design than it would have been to get into some of the other subdivisions. It's the #1 design school in the country. It's very selective. It's very difficult to get into and incredibly expensive also. So that, you know, you can get in and get a degree in one thing, but still take all the classes you want outside of that, and that was kind of what I did.
Okay. And so how did you end up coming back to the Holyoke area to, I mean, it looks like you do have your own, you still have your own business doing carpentry?
I do not. I put that aside. I firmly believe, you know, I'd say 75% of my business was in Holyoke, and that's a strict, you know, conflict. So I kind of just, I sold off my vans, let everyone go, and haven't done it since.
So would you put that as something you might start up again if you were to be here in Southampton, because then you would not be a conflict of interest?
Not likely. But, you know, I do have all the things. I wouldn't say no, 100% no, but, you know, it's again, I'm trying to get away from working 70, 80 hours a week, which is what I've been doing for what feels like forever. You know, there hasn't been a break. It's all the way through college. I was working third shift at a warehouse to make extra money, and then work during the day to get my business going, and then go to school. So it just has gone and gone and gone, and now I've started a family. So if anyone knows about that, it's not exactly.
So who does the budget in your office now? Do you put together your budget?
That's myself.
And what's your budget currently?
I just had the budget hearing last night, so this is all fresh. We're budgeted, take away from demolition money and board up money that's expenses that is kind of outside the department, and it's roughly $300,000.
That's a little more than Southampton.
Right?
Well, I mean, there's a difference.
Absolutely. With the demolition money, it's close to $1 million, so it's, you know, quite a lot.
And money is really tight, so in town, we're really sort of a budget crunch this year.
Mhm.
I don't know if you know about, we're looking for about 2.5 override because of, we're so much in arrears right now.
And that's something I did for Holyoke when I started there. The fees are set by city ordinance, and I strictly believe that the building department should be self-supporting. That it should not be a liability it should also not make a profit for your town. And so I did an evaluation of all of the cities and towns of Western Mass and comparable to Holyoke, which are different. Put that together as a package, had a meeting with the ordinance committee in that case, and said, this is what we have. Holyoke's still one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest, to do business in for business permitting and residential. And the fees last were put together in 1972, where they changed it would have been 2012 when I had it done. And basically, the building department was in the green, if you will, about $5,000 for that year. So they took in, it might have been $270,000, and the expenses were like $265 or something. So for the first time in about 10 years, it didn't suffer a loss for the town, including employee benefits in the office and everything else.
Now, is most of Holyoke septic, or are they still septic areas? Most of Holyoke is septic systems, or?
No, only Ward 5, which is it's kind of where you're abutting over here, but
Yeah, so mostly Ward 5 is septic system, mostly the rest is sewer system, right?
that's, I think, the only one, really. I don't even think in Smith's Ferry they have septic, which is where I live. I don't know. So even that really rural area has all city services.
Hi, Mr. Cole. Mr. Cole. I've been listening to you. The only concern I have is that you're going to go from one extreme to the other, and being able to do that and to do diligence is a concern I would have. There is 99% of your work will be residential. We do have 2 decent-sized subdivisions going on right now, combination maybe 25, 26 houses, plus several other houses being built on lots. At this time, currently, I don't think there's any commercial stuff going on right now, am I right? No. But you anticipate stuff. So how would you keep yourself going?
Did you say the last word again?
How would you keep yourself going and being content when you come from an environment where it's been hell in the middle?
Well, that's part of the problem is in my personality and nature is that I'm not the guy that keeps the boat running. I'm the person that makes the boat go faster, and unfortunately it's to my own detriment. But all the work I've done in Holyoke and scanning building plans and scanning 50 years of building plans, we're working on the second half of the full 100. It's not something that's in my job description or something they told me I have to do or anything like that. It's just something I said, this will help out, this will be better, save the city some money. When people want public records, we can now say, sure, we got those plans, and we just PDF them and email it to them or whatever, you know. So it's, I think every department with you know, some fresh new person or blood in there can see some things that maybe to improve on. And it takes a while to learn a town or city's ordinances or, you know, bylaws. There's a lot of homework to do.
On your enforcement side, did you do the court?
I have gone to court, but typically it's more of a policy of the law department of Holyoke that the inspector does not show up. So, but somebody has to file the order, file the actual, right.
You're looking at them.
Yeah, excellent.
You got the job.
That wouldn't be a problem, but in Holyoke I have not. I can't say that I've gone to do anything. I've written all the legal letters. I've even written the legal letters for other departments in our city. People have come to me to ask how to do that. I do everything, you know, by the book in that sense, go through necessary steps. And so the matter of that last step of actually showing up, it's to provide testimony is not really an issue.
Currently, right now, Rich and myself have been, we have given testimony, and we have been fighting some zoning issues in the Westfield District Court on illegal dumping, illegal storage of vehicles and stuff like that. And I'm sure you've had your experience in those areas. But we are a farming community that has got away from a lot of the farming. Now homes are taking, you know, a lion's share of our farms. But there are a diverse issue in this town of our bylaws and our zoning bylaws. Sometimes they fit, sometimes they don't. They need to be worked and they need to be looked at constantly. And from your experience, you have done that with Holyoke. Am I right?
Yes, I would tell you that the specifics wouldn't be the same. You know, in Holyoke we have, you know, when you say abandoned cars, it's Board of Health. It's not the building.
There should be common sense.
Yeah, it's the same sort of scenario. It's just going to be a different, yeah.
Because I know one of Rich's biggest concern was dealing with antiquated zoning bylaws.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's something that I would think that we'd be looking to remedy in the future with our new building inspector and zoning enforcement officer.
Right.
There's also the master plan and some zoning changes, zoning bylaw.
Well, I'm talking about stuff that has been enforced, it's not enforceable, it's in conflict with mass law right now.
Yep, that's something I changed in Holyoke in the first probably 3 to 6 months, is did a review of the book that stands this high and had them remove all the things that were in conflict, because such as, you know, they had the adopted building code from 1960 something, and that's of course not the code we're working with, so that's not uncommon in towns and cities.
No, I just want to let you know that from my response, becoming a very hectic operation. I'm not saying you're going to hang around because somebody will be bothering you about that, but you'll have your work cut out for you, but it won't be of the same magnitude or the same intensity.
Right.
But we're looking for quality and we're looking for an efficient operation.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for us?
I have one.
Oh, you have more?
Do you have a chicken bylaw? Have they been banned in Holyoke? I thought I heard that.
Well, there's a history to it. Without going into great detail, there is no chicken bylaw. There is an ordinance that includes many farm animals, all in a group, not one specifically for chickens. For zoning, basically you're allowed only in the RA zone, which is the residential agricultural. It's or if you have 5 acres of land. So if you have an RA zone and you have a smaller than 5 acre, you can, but they have to be set back from the property line. It's very few properties in the city, but they did try to pass a urban chicken ordinance so that downtown properties could maintain chickens. And I don't know the specifics because it never passed. it was a big controversy, it was a big deal, it went on and on. You can read all about it in the paper, I'm sure, on the, on the Republican. But it was aimed at allowing, on some level, a handful of I should say hens, because chickens would be actually the wrong term, but hens to be kept on smaller properties. A lot of people in the city are doing it already, and people don't know about it. I could tell you, actually, my family has historically had chickens in downtown. They have a barn, and it lives in the most dense area, but they've had them for 75 years. So, it's not uncommon for small properties to have them, and nobody knows. Nobody has a clue.
So have you ever enforced?
I've never had one single request for enforcement of any animal. Actually, as a matter of fact, nothing. And I live next door to horses where I live, and it's not a farm. It's an equestrian center for for therapy, and nobody knows that they're there. Unless you know. So, but I've never had a call for any enforcement of any animal.
I like the thought of you were saying you don't think the department should be a drain on the town, nor be a big profit center. So that'd be something I know I'd be interested in following through if you got the position to see how that would work out. You've got some experience with that, obviously. Yeah.
Yep. And I'd pass that information on to other towns and cities, because it's a lot of work to research everyone's building permit fees with so many things missing from online and not easy to access. But I have that as a spreadsheet. And
you feel comfortable with that model? As long as you can sustain it, obviously.
Right. I mean, the idea is maybe every few years you revisit, and there's things like solar. Solar was not something that was in a permit fee schedule in 1970s. But now it's more and more common, and in some cases the city has no permit fee schedule, so they might be charging, like Holyoke was, $10,000 to $20,000 for a permit fee, if you can believe that, for a solar field. So in some cases you're actually bringing it down and saying solar field is only this much, flat rate, or $5 a panel, whatever. And that was part of the review that was completed.
Did you ever work with Pioneer Valley Planning Commission at all? Like, they had their own sort of working on solar and whatnot. Did you ever work with them in developing?
I have not. I know of them, but we have a principal planner in Holyoke, and he directly works with them, and I directly work with the principal planner, which is, basically how everything gets done.
Are there any questions from the public? Are there any questions from you?
Not today. I probably would have some at some point, but they'd be more details of employment, so.
I'm assuming you would still live in Holyoke, okay? There's no need to move to town or anything.
I was assuming there was not a residency requirement, right? There's not one in Holyoke, and I live on the line, which is great.
Easy enough to get here.
I think it's only 5 minutes more than downtown Holyoke from here. I actually live very close to Northampton.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Would you guys like a 5-minute break?
Sure. We're going to take a break for 5 minutes, and we'll return at 7:40. That's 6 minutes.
Is she generous or what?